torches and pitchforks are out for Kyle Shanahan. They are out for Brock Purdy. They're out for the 49ers in general. How much of the things that people are saying are actually true, and how much, when you take a look at the film, may not be so true? We'll get into all of that. Plus, oh, by the way, another must-win game against the Dallas Cowboys. All that and more on today's show, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to Stats and Cohn on the gold standard in the Fans First Sports Networks. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Grant Cohn, live from his kitchen. We have a special announcement on the show. Grant is starting a cooking show on YouTube. It's called Cook These Fools with Grant Cohn. Grant, can't wait to see it.
That's exactly what it's called. Yeah, I've had some success in the sports head talking sphere, and it's fun. But I need a new challenge. So now I'm going to be a chef.
I'd watch that show. I'd watch it. You could cook Kyle Shanahan while you're cooking dinner.
I like that. This has some potential, some real legs.
Today, I'm going to tell you why Kyle's scheme is outdated and show you how to make a nice broccoli quiche.
I'm telling you, this has some real potential. We could do this together.
There we go. I'm down for it. I need to branch out. God knows I could use some more YouTube channel followers. Anyway. Lot to get to on the show. We are going to talk about some of the narratives with Kyle Shanahan, the offense in general, and also the Cowboys game, because the Niners desperately need this game. I don't know if you heard Jerry Rice on 95.7 The Game earlier this week, Grant. He called it a must-win. He said the season's on the line. Do you agree?
I mean, I think I felt like it was on the line last week, and they lost. That's the thing. Like, they could beat the Cowboys, and that would be – how much would that – emotionally boost them? Like, you always beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys aren't good. It would be great. Losing to the Cowboys would be absolutely catastrophic, and it would be this death spiral that would be, it would be terrible, the things we would say, but like beating the Chiefs would have been so big, because you feel like if they could go on a run late in the season, you're going to face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl like 80%. So if you could just prove to yourself that you could beat them, you'd feel better about yourself. But I feel like they've kind of been mentally broken by Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, they don't know that they can beat them, and that's a problem. But beating Dallas is nice.
They need to beat Dallas because they need a damn win. But you're
Yes.
right. Like, it doesn't tell you anything about the team, because they are to the Cowboys what the Chiefs are to the 49ers.
Well put.
Honestly. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. If you are wondering about the game, Vegas says the Niners should beat the Cowboys. They are 4-point favorites over Dallas. Now, they're at home, and home teams usually get 3 points. So,
yesterday it was 5 though on BetUS. I was checking. Now it's at 4. So again, is the betting public losing confidence in the 49ers? It's still a 4-point spread, but they get like the 3 points for home field advantage.
I think. How could you not be losing confidence in the 49ers after what they just showed? It would make perfect sense if that was the case. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my question is, are the Niners losing confidence in the 49ers? I mean, I'm in the locker room. It's hard to tell, but you saw Nick Bosa's face at the postgame press conference. That was I'm not scary, but that was not good.
It was telling. He wanted he's not very talkative at the podium anyway. He was even less talkative. He wanted no part of answering those questions. So look, if you're starting to doubt the Niners, take the Cowboys then. You get the points, and if you do it with BetUS, you can get a deposit bonus. You can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit, up to $2,000. Just use code YouTube150. And if you use BetUS, you get 24/7 personalized service every single day of the year, live wagering on all major games. They have the best betting variety in the business. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video, this show, both of our channels, as a matter of fact. So go and check that out if you are so inclined. Last week, I ran to take the Chiefs. That was the easiest money I've ever made in my life. I was getting points, and I took the Chiefs. If you think it's easy money this week, go and do it. I'm not going to be touching this one, frankly. I am staying away right now because there's a lot I don't trust.
Yeah, it's Dallas. Why do you feel like the thing about Dallas is when they lose, if they were to lose to the Niners, I could see them getting blown out again. So -4 is perfectly reasonable. I'm not sure that the Niners will win, but if they do, it probably will be in a convincing way.
Zach Rivera has his first super chat of the day. Thank you, Zach. Rivero, excuse me. Zach says, no one's talking about Mason wincing every play. Well, he's playing with a separated shoulder, so that you tend to do that.
And God love him for doing it because, this is a team with a lot of older players who have to protect their future. And you need a lot of young players who are hungry like this. And good for Jordan.
You're going to see the young, hungry brigade this week, right? You're going to see
team needs it.
Pearsall, Cowing, Pooney obviously is a young player. You're seeing D Winners more and more. You're seeing Renardo Green more and more. The young wave is coming more and more every single week.
It's overdue because this team is old and banged up, and they've played so many extra games in the playoffs the last 3 years. They need this second wave, this next generation of players, and it looks like there's a lot of really good ones coming through.
And hopefully we get to see, we're going to get to see the wide receivers. We have to. There's no other option. Deebo Samuel's out of the hospital, which is great, but we don't know if he's going to be able to play. And even if he can play, he had fluid in his lungs that needed hospitalization. I don't know, how much he's going to be able to give them if he can go. Juwan Jennings has been banged up. He missed last week. We don't know what he's going to do. So, they probably need to add at least one wide receiver anyway, just to fill out the damn roster.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't made that move. Like the Chiefs today traded for DeAndre Hopkins, who's not what he used to be, but he's clearly an upgrade over Justin Watson and Xavier Worthy right now. That's a move that makes them better. The Niners, like Juwan Jennings, a hell of a slot receiver, and Jacob Cowing's a nice complementary piece, and Ricky Pearsall may be really good one day, but who's your starting X? Chris Conley? Like, don't you want to go get Kendrick Bourne or Deontay Johnson? You have the most cap space in the league. You have draft picks. You can't draft in round one to save your life. Why not? Why not? You're all in, right? Just because you started 3-4, you're giving up. You've been 3-4 before. Maybe they will. There's so many wide receivers available. It just seems like, why not? It's what you need.
I don't want them to do that. Don't give up future assets for, 30-year-old veteran guy for a mid-wide receiver because you're trying to plug a hole in the dam. I don't want.
What about Deontay Johnson? He wouldn't cost one. He's an expiring contract.
If I can get him for a 6 or a 7, great. If not, no thanks. Just you drafted these guys for a reason. Let the chips fall where they may. And you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I don't want to see them trade future assets to make a sort of half-hearted run at this. Are they a Deontay Johnson away from being a Super Bowl team? I think they got.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
All right.
That's a fair point.
Speaking of much bigger problems, Moon Man is leading me right where I want to go today. Says content creators want to blame Kyle that they don't even look at the film. The receivers were running bad routes, not detailed, and Purdy was holding the ball. This was more on the players than Kyle. Now, I don't totally agree, but you're leading me down the path, Moon Man, so thank you. I think that because of the nature of watching the game on television, there have been some false narratives that have emerged this season, particularly with Kyle Shanahan and with Brock Purdy. The first and the biggest one that I disagree with, and I wanted to talk about this with you, Grant, because you have been very critical of Kyle Shanahan. So I feel like if I'm going to talk about things that defend Kyle Shanahan, it's nice to have you on the other side because you can respond and hold me accountable if you think I'm being crazy. The idea that Kyle Shanahan hasn't evolved the offense and isn't getting guys open is incorrect, in my opinion. First, they went from leading the league in yak to being at the bottom of the league in yak. That is a different offense. He's not running the same offense. It's different. You may not like it. You may think it's worse. It's not the same. To me, you can't argue it's the same. And second, if you watch the film, take this Chiefs game, for example, guys were open, even against man coverage. I know it's sacrilege to bring it up. Brock left meat on the bone. He didn't throw to the right guys. He didn't throw to the open guy. He threw to guys that were covered.
Okay.
So
I don't argue with that. That's fine. So Kyle is a good coach and he has no problem against man-to-man coverage. It's Brock's fault.
It's a combination of both. But the idea that Kyle is not getting guys open is untrue. Kyle would get guys open. Brock wouldn't throw to him. When guys were covered and Brock needed to make a hell of a throw, he made it. Ayuk dropped it. Or
so trade Brock?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, then how do they fix this then? If Kyle's not the problem and it's Brock, how do you fix this?
It's both. Kyle's got to get better,
Oh,
especially now, and
okay.
Brock has to get better. I mean,
Look, man, all I know is that there are you can scheme up easy throws. Maybe there's guys open downfield. We don't really know the progression, but there are ways to scheme up easy throws. We see Andy Reid do it for the best quarterback of all time, all the time. Throws behind the line of scrimmage, little crossing routes, little rub routes. Like, I'd like to. Where are the easy throws this year? I know Christian McCaffrey's gone, and he was like 70% of your easy throws. But if Brock Purdy is clearly struggling as he was against the Chiefs, maybe stop calling the throws down the field. Like you've tried to be that offense this year. You've tried to be the offense that leads the league in air yards. Maybe that's not going to work this week. Where are the quick, easy throws, the screens? I mean, I'm watching freaking the Ravens. Todd Monken, he's got like a million different screens in the game, and they're all interesting and creative. And it seemed like they had fun drawing it up and installing it. Like, where is that stuff with the 49ers? Why are the Chiefs running more jet sweeps than the 49ers? Where are those easy throws I used to call Jimmy Gimmies that Kyle would load up for Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, why does it have to be so hard right now? He's supposed to be really good. We saw what really good looked like from Andy Reid. Street scheming up stuff for Noah Gray, who's not getting open on his own. Okay, it's my rant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Kyle is scheming that stuff up. Brock's not throwing to the right guy. That's my point. Look, if you're watching on the stream right now, you can see.
Wasn't your point a week, not to get crazy here, but wasn't your point a week ago that Brock's better than Mahomes or playing better than Mahomes?
Yeah, he was when I said
now he's the problem?
Yeah, because they've played games since I've said that, and he's been bad. Like, that's like people will hear a take and they'll make it try to hold up.
So your take from this game was that Brock was bad and Kyle was good?
Kyle was better than Brock. Brock was worse.
So what grade would you give Kyle?
B minus.
B minus?
Yeah, I would give him a B minus. I'd give Brock an F.
They had 12 points when the game was essentially over, and you're putting it on Brock.
Yeah. He threw 3 picks in Chiefs territory, and 1 was in the end zone.
Jesus.
Look at this play.
Dude, what about every time that Kyle Shanahan kicked a field goal on like 4th and 1? I saw you going crazy during the game. What about that stuff?
Yeah. Well,
are we judging Kyle Shanahan as an offensive coordinator or as a head coach, man? What are you talking about?
Again, I'm not saying Kyle was perfect. No one
is a B minus. Yeah. Dude, he can't beat Andy Reid at all. It's not Brock's fault. He couldn't beat him with Jimmy. He couldn't beat him with any quarterback you gave him. Meanwhile, if Andy Reid had Carson Wentz in that game, he still would have won.
Well, Carson Wentz has actually never lost to the 49ers, which is...
I think he's lost one time. I think he's like 5-1.
I mean, some of the most maddening games are Carson Wentz. I see super chat here. I want to get to it. But I want to show you an example from the film. Brock throws the juice at the top of the screen. It's man coverage. Ayuk is open here underneath. He's open. Who does Brock throw to? He throws to the fullback instead of throwing to the number 1 wide receiver, who is schemed open by Kyle Shanahan in man coverage. Kyle can't throw it for Brock. And again, this is not the end of the world, but this is one example of many in this game where Kyle had open guys and Brock didn't throw to them. And
let's pause here for a second. I'm not disputing. You got the evidence. I appreciate you doing the homework, but what you're saying is very, very serious, man. Like, the Niners have a clear issue against man-to-man coverage. They haven't been able to beat it for a while. Teams are doing it against them all the time. And the question is, whose fault is it? And you're saying it is Brock's fault. And it may be. But if that's the case, then he's not their starting quarterback long term. They need to find a new quarterback, because if you can't beat man-to-man coverage at all, then you're done. And you know what? Over the last 12 games, his numbers are not good. His quarterback rating is 87. His touchdown to interception ratio is 7-6, 14-12. It's not good. And he's 6-6. So maybe we're seeing that the league has caught on to Brock, although I'm not sure that that's the case. I feel like the league may be catching on to Kyle.
I see. That's what I mean. It's not that. Guys are open. If you can dial up guys that are open, that's not the league catching up to you. The quarterback has to make the throw. This is another play from the game. Purdy drops back. This is the deep shot to Conley, which made no sense to me. Conley's locked up by McDuffie, arguably the best corner in the league. It's man coverage, 1-on-1. Now, to Brock's credit, he puts the throw right on the money at the top of the screen. It's right there. McDuffie makes a great play on it, right? But here's what I talk about Brock leaving meat on the bone. Look at Kittle underneath. Kittle is the first read on this play. Look at him. He's wide open. There's no...
How do you know that Kittle's the first read on that play?
That's true. I don't know that. I shouldn't have said that.
Don't say that.
to be incorrect on that.
Yeah.
But Kittle is wide ass open on this play. This is Kyle scheming a guy open, his best guy that's on the field at this point, right?
That is not Kyle scheming a guy open. That's Kittle winning one-on-one. I'm talking about rub route, like actually scheming a guy open, two crossing, a mesh concept where one guy runs a crossing route and another guy runs a crossing route, and you try to run one DB into another. That's scheming a guy open. That's just Kittle winning, and that's great, man. You paid him a lot of money. He should be able to win. You're spending for all these weapons. They should be able to win. But what about Kyle? Like, where are the screens? Where are the things where someone doesn't have to win? You're creating the space for them. You can do it against zone.
I don't agree with that. You can scheme a guy open in man coverage. You could say against this defense, if they play man, you're going to be open. That's what it's not just on a rub route. Or
that's just picking out a matchup you like pre-snap and guessing that he's going to win. Maybe. But what I'm talking about is like actual concepts, route patterns that work together to specifically free open a guy against man-to-man coverage. Like sprint right option is one of those concepts. Mesh is one of those concepts. Like that's just the tight end winning one-on-one. God love him. Kittle should win one-on-one. And he did a bunch in this game. But like, who else is good? Debo won't.
He's schemed open. Conley takes the corner out of the play. The whole right side of the field is open because it's man coverage, and Kittle beats his guy. That's scheming it open.
I mean, that's just spreading out the field and letting a guy win one-on-one, which is great. That is something that you should do against man-to-man coverage. Don't have a tight, condensed formation. Spread them out. See where the one-on-ones are. Give Brock Purdy a clear picture pre-snap of what his best matchup is so we can attack it, because clearly it's not Conley on McDuffie, as to your point. It's not it. What you want to do is look to Kittle like he's got a good matchup. He's got some space. I'm with you on that, man. I'm not here to like make excuses for Brock. He's clearly not playing well, and it goes back to last year. And you can't just put it on McCaffrey not being there. But I would like to see Brock play with another coach, because we've seen that Kyle can't be. It's not just Andy Reid. It's Steve Spagnuolo. It's Jim Schwartz. It's Brian Flores. Like there's a class of defensive coordinators who have similar schemes who absolutely own Kyle Shanahan. And then in games like that, we point to his quarterback. Well, he threw 3 picks. Yeah, but you could put any quarterback there. Kyle's still going to get owned by those coaches, in my opinion.
See, one, we don't know anybody else's record against those guys because we don't keep track of that, right? For some reason. Maybe everybody's bad against those guys because they are the best defensive coordinators in the game right now.
Well, Ben Johnson just put up 31 points on the Vikings in Minnesota. Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he can't put up more than 17 points in Minnesota. He did it twice with Brock, once with Jimmy Garoppolo. Once upon a time, he put up 16. Like, that's why everyone's interested in Ben Johnson. He's going to be a head coach somewhere next year. He's very creative. He's doing a really good job with Jared Goff, who no one thinks is good. I'm not saying get rid of Kyle Shanahan and hire Jim Tomsula or promote Chris Kasarik. I think there's someone special in Detroit that a lot of teams are going to want, and he might want to coach Brock Purdy. Like, I'm not saying fire Kyle Shanahan today either. Let's see how the season plays out. But if they miss the playoffs and Ben Johnson is over there putting up 33 points a game and winning a Super Bowl with Jared Goff or taking him far, yeah, I'd be interested in him. I'd be interested in him.
Johnson. You know who Ben Johnson is? He's Mike McDaniel. He's Brian Dable. How do those guys look as head coach?
How do you know who Ben Johnson is, man? We'll see who Ben Johnson is.
Yeah, but like this idea that,
he's Brian Daboll, like, why?
Let's just install Ben Johnson because he's been good with Detroit and he'll be good at.
Brian Daboll was a product of Josh Allen. Like, are you saying that Ben Johnson's a product of Jared Goff?
What about Mike McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel did a really good job with Tua. I don't think many coaches could have done a better job with Tua. Now he's got nothing. Just wait till he gets a quarterback. I think Mike McDaniel's really good.
Mike McDaniel got his ass kicked. Every time he has to play a playoff game, he gets his ass kicked.
His quarterback is Tua.
When his quarterback
is legitimately bad.
He just paid Tua. He
didn't pay Tua. The organization paid Tua.
You think they would have paid him if he didn't want him?
He doesn't have the say. What other option did he have? What other quarterback does he have?
When he lost his quarterback, he's been awful.
He had Skylar Thompson.
When Kyle Shanahan lost his quarterback, he won 10
He had Brock Purdy
into the playoffs.
He got lucky by having Brock Purdy.
With a rookie quarterback who had no
Sweet, he had Brock Purdy. He got lucky.
In the offense.
He had no idea who Brock Purdy was. He thought he was the third best quarterback on the team.
The Browns made the playoffs with Joe Flacco when they lost their starting
Joe
quarterback.
Flacco's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Skylar Thompson is trash.
I know. It's all of them. It has nothing to do with the current coach.
Mike McDaniel's a good coach.
He just, doesn't really win a lot of games without a starting quarterback.
No, most people don't.
Kyle does.
When he had Brock Purdy, not when he was starting Nick Mullins.
Well, they won some. They weren't a complete
They
tire.
were 4-12 in 2018.
Yeah, he won some games.
There you go, four.
Let's get to a couple super chats. Scott Wilson says, "Can we just take a moment and give Purdy his flowers? What he's done as a rookie and how he neutralized Chris Jones? I don't know if he neutralized Chris Jones. In fact, I don't want to say that. They moved Chris Jones around a lot. He was not always. It's not like he was matched up on Purdy one-on-one every game. I don't remember a particular play where Chris Jones beat Dominic Purdy. To be fair, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I don't remember it. But Purdy's been good this year. No doubt about it. Purdy has absolutely been good this year. And he does deserve his flowers. And good for you, Scott, for giving it to him. Ethan M says, Kyle is not a good head coach. Let's just accept it. I mean, I disagree. Again, I just showed multiple examples. I have many more here ready to go where guys are open and Brock is not throwing to the guy.
That's just the ultimate cope, though. Why is there so much echo, man? I put these in. What's up with the echo?
I don't hear echo. Do you have an echo?
1, 2, 3. Big time echo. I don't understand what's going on.
Let me know if there's an echo. Sometimes with AirPods, it
was an echo before I put them in.
Oh man, I don't know why this happens.
We were just getting spicy
too. Maybe hop out and hop back in.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll try that. I mean, I showed multiple examples from the game where Kyle Shanahan is scheming guys open and Brock Purdy is not hitting them. And by the way, on that play I just showed where he throws to Conley and it's incomplete when Kittle was wide open, the next play is the Ronnie Bell interception where Ronnie Bell, number one, is open and Purdy airmails the throw and it's intercepted. That's not on Kyle.
Test. All right, so Kyle Shanahan loses his 6th consecutive game to Andy Reid, and you're blaming his newest. He's lost with Matt Ryan. He's lost with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's now lost with Brock Purdy multiple times, and you're gonna sit there and just show a couple of clips of guys being open and say it's not Kyle's fault. Like, to me, this team is losing confidence in their coach because they know they got to go through the Chiefs. The whole league has to go through the Chiefs, just how the NBA had to go through the Bulls in the 90s, and their coach can't get it done no matter who his quarterback is. I mean, and it's not just about his offensive play design. You brought it up during the game. Don't act like you didn't. His game management decisions, when to go for it, when to kick field goals. Like, he's conservative. He won't go for it on 4th and 1. Multiple times he's kicking field goals. Like, that's a problem, man. He's not that aggressive.
Oh, he's not aggressive. And I'm not.
Again, it's the Chiefs.
I'm not saying Kyle is perfect. I'm saying it's both of them. I think it's
both of them.
Brock Purdy. Like, the narrative coming out of this game is Kyle didn't scheme anybody open against man coverage. That's wrong. That is incorrect. I showed the proof. There's more proof. I could show you more plays if you want.
You didn't show proof, man. You showed George Kittle winning a one-on-one matchup. Like, anyone that has nothing to do with Kyle other than creating a little bit of space by spreading out the formation a little bit.
What do you think you do against man coverage to win?
I'm talking about route patterns, screens, mesh concepts.
Against man coverage and mesh concept? That's not how it works.
Yeah, it is how it works. There are concepts in a passing game that are designed to beat zone coverage, create space against zone coverage. There are concepts in a passing game that are designed to create conflicted defenders in man-to-man coverage, and you didn't show that. What you showed was Kittle winning one-on-one. If you want to show any kind of man-beater pattern that he ran in this game, I'm all eyes, man. I'd love to see it. But I don't think you know what to look for. In man coverage, you always have to win your one-on-one matchup. You always do it. Every time you win on man coverage. But I'm talking about the coach helping. Not saying, hey, George, here's my plan for beating this man coverage. You win your matchup. Like, that's not it. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a difference.
I'm going to use this route on next to you on your right to clear out the entire side of the field for you against man coverage. So that's
one thing a coach could do, but there's more. There's route combinations. I mean, look, spreading out the formation, that's a good start. It's a really good start.
It's both, but it's not just like,
I don't see you watch that game and watch what Andy Reid did with no receivers and watch what Kyle did with highly paid receivers and act like Kyle was doing a great job. But you know what? To each his own. The beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You might like that. Some people like mid.
If you want to say they should have run more jet sweeps and stuff, dude, I'm there. I'm with you. They have not run.
But his passing game was money. Cool. All right.
If Brock throws to the right guy or doesn't underthrow the 2 touchdowns that Kyle schemes open against man coverage, are we saying Kyle Shanahan can't call plays? Are we saying that the league has adapted to his scheme? No, I don't think we are. That's my point.
So the answers for him were deep throws, low percentage throws,
some shorter
low percentage throws. Where are the high percentage throws against man coverage?
The one to Kittle's a 5-yard throw.
Okay, you had one.
There are more.
I don't know, man. I think Brock Purdy's better at his job than Kyle Shanahan is.
I disagree completely.
I think Kyle Shanahan would have been fired already if it weren't for Brock.
Well, who are you replacing Brock with? That depends. We don't know that, right? If you're replacing him with no one.
I didn't say replace Brock. How are you going to do that? Who's going to pick the next quarterback? Kyle?
No, I'm saying
Kyle couldn't pick a quarterback.
Kyle would have got fired without Brock. Well, who are you putting in Brock's place?
If Brock Purdy wasn't born, if they didn't draft him, if he wasn't on the team, he would have gotten fired. The Trey Lance thing, Brock Purdy saved the Trey Lance debacle. He did.
Well, we would have had to see Trey for more than 4 career starts. Matthew Rowley says, watch Brock's helmet stripe on that Conley throw. I don't think he looks at Kittle, which means Conley was the first read. How do you know? We don't know. Maybe he said, hey, I got a 1-on-1 matchup deep down the field. I'm going to take that. Because I think generally...
Maybe Kyle, who's very controlling, says, if you have middle of the field closed and it's man-to-man, I want you throwing the fade.
Maybe. We don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe not, though. That's
why it's tough to just bring up plays and be like, well, Kyle did a good job. This one guy's open right here on this one play. It's like,
when you watch Brock play,
you could do that with every team if you wanted to. You really think you could go through a play and be like, oh, no one was open the whole game? Like, you could do that with every team, every game, every week.
Okay.
If you really wanted to let a coach off the hook every time and say, hey, man, they should have executed. You could do it with every coach, every week, every game.
Well, the narrative about Kyle was that he wasn't getting guys open, and he was getting guys open. If the quarterback doesn't throw to the open guy, that changes when you watch.
So you're saying players got to execute is essentially what you got to say. That's your takeaway from this game. Players got to execute.
To be better. Kyle has to be better. Brock has to be better.
Yeah, I thought Brock was. I mean, those turnovers were no good. There's no excuse throwing a pick into double coverage in the end zone. There's no excuse. That's not on Kyle. But at the same time, there are easier throws that you can scheme open. I mean, there was a throw that Patrick Mahomes had one of these in the game.
Grant is dropping back. He's underhanding for if you're listening on the.
We used to call that the Jimmy Gimme. Remember, it's not quite a jet sweep. It's like a push pass forward. Yeah. It's literally a completion. Like, those are the layups that you can give a struggling quarterback who I guess Mahomes is struggling, just to boost their confidence, just to make things easy. And I think a great coach has a million easy throws in his bag. Andy Reid, Bill Walsh, dare I say Ben Johnson. I mean, every time I look up, Jared Goff is 18 of 18 in the game, 18 of 20. Like, he's not that good. Those are easy throws that he's scheming open. Like, Kyle, come on. You did that in the past. You did it for Jimmy. You did it for Brock. Now you're like leading the league in air yards? That's not, what are you doing, dude? You don't have the offensive line for that. You don't have the quarterback for that. You don't have the receivers for that. It's unsustainable. It might work against New England.
Kyle could do some more of those pop passes and end around plays. I think he absolutely should. I think that's a completely, again, he can be doing more. How
many screens has he thrown to Jordan Mason? You don't have to run a route for screen.
1.7 screens per game. I think last year they were at 3 screens a game.
What's up with that?
He could be doing more. And when Cowing had to play, he threw Cowing a screen in the red zone, and it worked, by the way. He gained 9 yards on the play.
And I want to say one more thing. Beyond the X's and O's, again, I appreciate you bringing the evidence. I love that. But I think with Kyle, a big thing with him is like the human impact he has on his quarterbacks. With Jimmy, he came here as the most irrationally confident quarterback in the league. You look at J.R. Smith of quarterbacks. He's like shoot quarterback. He was like, didn't care. And it was, look, he won a lot of games. He was a leader. His players believed in him. It worked for him. And over time, he lost all of his confidence. And you could blame Kyle or not, but like that was Kyle's guy. And he lost all of his confidence. Brock, what was so defining about him when he came on the scene? Wow, how is the last pick so freaking confident? Now, I don't see the same confident quarterback. And you're pointing it out. Like, why are you not pulling the trigger? Why are you missing these throws that you used to make in the past? Like, yeah, that's on Brock, but isn't that a troubling trend of Kyle and his quarterbacks losing confidence over time?
Think Brock still is confident. And I think sometimes that confidence leads him to pass up the easier throws for the throws down the field. Like, to me, that Conley play, you got to be confident that you're throwing to Chris Conley on Trent McDuffie, and Brock puts it perfectly on the money. It's a beautiful throw. It was a hell of a play by McDuffie to break it up. But,
or Kyle said, in this case, I want this throw here, and he's doing what Kyle said. We don't know. Maybe. Because if you don't do what Kyle says, you catch flack for it. And if you're like Matt Ryan or Steve Young or John Elway, it's like, cool, I can take it. I don't care. Come yell at me. But if you're 24-year-old Brock Purdy, you might want to be like, you know what? I'm going to do what Kyle wants. So we don't know what the progression is, but Kyle's fairly cut and dry about what he wants his players to do. There's not a whole lot of like figuring it out on your own.
But what have we heard about Brock? That everybody loves him, that they're going to pay him. Jed York is talking about paying him, that they absolutely love him. If he was consistently not doing what Kyle wanted, I don't think that would be the case.
Right. Which is why I feel like when he throws to Chris Conley on that play, that's probably the read. But again, like, I have a press pass. I could theoretically ask Brock Purdy this question this week. So maybe we'll get some answers. Hey, Brock, I know you're on to Dallas, but let's go back to Kansas City for a minute. That one throw to Chris Conley, what were you thinking? Did you see George Kittle open on the backside? I mean, there were moments like that in Kansas City, right? In the Super Bowl, where it's like he threw to Jawan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk is open. I think sometimes with man-to-man coverage, that's the difference. Like with zone, you can sort of read it out because you know how theoretically the defense is supposed to react to your passing concept and where the opening is supposed to be if everyone executes, right? Against man is more guessing. It's like, well, who do I think is going to win the matchup? I don't know. Like, you can't necessarily scan the field. You got to have almost a feel for who's going to win and pick things out and make throws into tight windows against guys who are heavily covered. And to your point, I don't know why he would pick out Chris Conley against McDuffie on that play. Like, that's a low percentage throw against a bad matchup, straight up. Well, so yeah, I don't like making excuses for Brock. I don't think he's played well the last 12 games, and I don't know why. But I think him and Kyle have to be hand in hand with this one. They're married on this.
It's the same decision he made in the pick in the end zone. McDuffie's covering Conley, and then another guy comes and covers Conley, and he still throws it to him. Generic name says Kyle did a bad job, Mr. Stats. You refuse to see it. So on that pick, the Conley pick in the end zone, Kyle did a bad job. Nobody is open. Nobody is open at all. And Kyle said Brock should have just taken the sack there. He said Brock didn't have anything, which is the closest Kyle will come to saying he didn't call a good play. And he should have taken the sack. So Kyle did a bad job on that. To me, well, not a worse job because Brock turned it over, but Kyle did a bad job on that play. Generic name says, thank you for finally calling out the guy people refuse to, Grant. Bosa is the lead anchor with his contract and lack of production.
I just feel like you can either go do a deep dive or like pull back and look at the big picture. And to me, after this loss, I want to go, I would be more prone to go big picture. Yes, you can go deep into the details and find examples of Brock being better than you think or Kyle being better than you think. But they lost again to the one team they got to beat. And it's not what we think, it's what they think. What kind of emotional toll did they take from losing to the Chiefs again? And not just by a little bit. In the past, it's always like, well, it was just one play or it came down to the end or it was overtime. Like, no, you got smacked and you said it. Kyle was like, we got our ass kicked. How confident can you be when you can't beat the Chiefs? You can't beat the Chiefs, and you know you have to beat the Chiefs. It's a lot like 10 years ago when the Niners finally realized they couldn't beat the Seahawks. Can't. And you got to go through them. And it would get worse and worse and worse against them. And eventually it's like, you know what, we don't got it. We don't have the winning formula, and we can't keep telling ourselves that we do.
They can't beat the Chiefs. That is true. You don't know, number one, that you're going to have to go through the Chiefs. The AFC is going to be Baltimore looks like a freaking buzzsaw right now. Who knows? We have no idea how the AFC is going to work out. But, I remember the 49ers not being able to beat the Packers for years, and they beat the Packers. I remember them not being able to beat the Cowboys for years.
After they fired Seifert.
When?
They lost to the Packers in the 1996 in the 1997 technically playoffs. Fire Seifert, bring in Mariucci, and then they beat the Packers in the first round of the playoffs in '98. Remember?
I remember.
With
Yeah, that was
Mariucci.
the catch. And they also
that was Mariucci.
They also beat the Cowboys without firing George Seifert. So,
I was talking about the Packers. Were we talking about Packers? I was talking about the Packers. Yeah,
like
sorry.
One instance, they couldn't beat the Cowboys. They kept Seifert and they beat the Cowboys. The other instance, they couldn't beat the Packers. They fired Seifert. They beat the Packers.
But they beat the Cowboys in the regular season before they beat them in the Super Bowl.
Well, they beat them in the NFC Championship.
They beat them in the regular season too, in '94.
No, I know. But I mean, you said Super Bowl. You can't beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
Sorry. I just started covering the NFL this year. Forgive me. I'm Canadian. My background is hockey. Sorry.
Been working on that cooking show. Ethan and Rob, I feel like you and others that make points for Kyle only proves he's an OC. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence he's an egregious head coach. I don't know how you can separate the two.
0-40 when he's losing by 8 or more points in the fourth quarter since 2017. Every other team has won at least one game in that situation. I mean, the numbers are mounting. I think it's getting pretty damning. And if he misses the playoffs this year, I really wonder what's going to happen. I mean, he could point to injuries, but I wonder if that's a valid excuse in 2024.
That would be wild to me. The guy just made the Super Bowl last year, went to overtime of the Super Bowl last year. He misses the playoffs for the first time since
he lost, though.
And you're going to say he's fired?
Well, he lost, though, and he didn't know the overtime rules. So right there, you could have fired him on the spot.
Rules.
He knew them and picked wrong. Either way is bad. I mean, that's like a baseball team going up and be like, you know what? We're home today, but we want to hit first. Just cause.
I agree. It was a terrible decision.
Like, what are you doing?
Agree with that.
So either way, I mean, fire him on the spot. You lost again. You blew it in overtime, but you want to run it back one more time? Fine. You run it back and you miss the playoffs. Like, fire. You're done. You're done. And it's like, I'm not saying elevate Chris Kaserik or bring back Jim Tom Sula. I'm saying go get the number one coach out there. The problem is, do you think Ben Johnson, if he had his pick, would want to come to the 49ers? Like, this is an old team. It's an old team. And to your point, Brock Purdy really struggling against man-to-man coverage, man. It's pretty much all his fault. Pretty much.
J50TR33 says Kyle teams can never win the big games. When is it going to be Kyle's fault? They won the... Please don't say they never win big games when what you mean is they don't win Super Bowls. Just say Super Bowls. Because in order to get to the 2 Super Bowls, you have to win multiple big games. Like, that is a fact. If you want to say Super Bowls, nobody can argue against you. But big games is incorrect.
Unless it's against the Chiefs or Brian Flores or Jim Schwartz.
A regular season game
or John Harbaugh. That's the thing. It's like, oh, they might face the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Has Kyle ever beaten Lamar Jackson?
How many times have they played?
Twice. Once in Baltimore, once in Santa Clara. So maybe Kyle can, but there's just all this evidence of him losing to the best coaches. Every time they lose this year, it's to a well-coached team.
A regular season game against the Ravens is not a big game. To say that they haven't won big games is incorrect. Just say Super Bowls, and then I'm on board with you. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. The Niners haven't won in 30 years. What's it going to take? Maybe it'll take Patrick Mahomes.
A new head coach?
The Chiefs?
Okay, guys, the game today is to just bug Rob as much as possible because he's like his frustration meter is at an 8 right now, and I think we can get it to a 10. So I'm asking everyone really push his buttons today. I think we got him.
Why got him? I want to see the little vein in my forehead explode.
Come on!
It only works once, and then I'm dead. And you can't do shows anymore. Laquiza, sorry, I'm terrible at reading names. Says it's not the scheme, it's the situation.
Black Caesar.
Is that? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Black Caesar.
Sorry. Says it's not the scheme. It's situational play calling and being able to lead and build your players up, not break them down.
Coaching up versus coaching down. My dad said that yesterday. Does he coach you up or does he coach you down? Good question.
I know he's very hard on quarterbacks. So I would say
very hard on quarterbacks. And again, a guy like Steve Young in his prime, his dad was the same way. John Elway, Steve Young, bring it on. I'm a Hall of Famer. I want to be challenged. Jimmy Garoppolo? Brock Purdy? Like, you could crush a young man. And I think he did crush Jimmy, although maybe Jimmy was always a fugazi. But I don't know. I guess we'll never know. Maybe Jimmy will have a renaissance. I'm just using Italian words. No, that's French.
Might be if Jimmy were to retire, I think you might be able to get some freaking juice out of Jimmy Garoppolo. Just about everything that went down. Like maybe we can get him to like open up and give us the tea.
One day in like 20 years, there's going to be a Me Too movement of quarterbacks who played for Kyle. And one guy's going to come out and be like, you know what? Kyle was really detrimental to my mental health. And like 4 more will be like, me too. That was awful.
CJ Beathard, Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo. Did I leave anybody out?
Robert Griffin III, Matt Ryan. Yeah.
Eduardo
But it'll be Jimmy. Jimmy will lead the class action suit.
Eduardo says, Rob, you argued with Grant about Purdy's comparison to Mahomes the week before, but now we're changing the tone. Why didn't we win the NFC Championship game with Josh Johnson despite Kyle's greatness with backups? Hold on. What I argue with Grant about with Mahomes is I said that Brock at that time was playing better than Mahomes. Not that I specifically said Mahomes is a better quarterback. So I don't know what your issue is there. Why didn't we win the NFC Championship game with Josh Johnson? Because Josh Johnson got concussed and was out of the NFC Championship game. Do we forget that part?
If he didn't get concussed, would they have won?
Maybe. I don't know. They were 1 score down before Josh Johnson fumbled the damn snap. And even then they were 2 scores down. I don't know.
He fumbled the snap, didn't he?
Yeah, and then they set up the Eagles in the red zone, and it was bad. Matthew Rowley says on the Conley play, Brock did it twice against the blitz. I think the streak is the alert throw on that play, and Purdy isn't going out of the system. We don't know. William Enkelman says Brock saved the 49ers from Jimmy, but cursed them with an average quarterback instead. Could have made Trey into a superstar, but went better now than later if Trey got the offense, CMC, and patience Brock has. Well, they never really had to be patient with Brock. That was the thing. He came in right away and hit the ground running. Like there was no growing pains with him, really. Those first 5 starts, he threw at least 2 touchdowns in every single one of them. Like they didn't really have to be patient with Brock.
If this man coverage thing continues to be an issue and Kyle Shanahan or the 49ers final solution, that's an unfortunate phrase, sorry about that, is that it's Brock's fault and they need a new quarterback. I don't think that they can do that. You can't get rid of Brock and keep Kyle. That cannot happen. Cannot happen. Out of the question. It's your last quarterback, buddy. This is it. Either make it work or get out. Now, if they want to keep Brock and get a new head coach, I'd be interested in that, depending on who the coach is. But this whole thing of like, no, it's actually the quarterback is the problem yet again. It turns out we have Jimmy G 2.0. We're going to go find another quarterback. Absolutely not.
I like everybody being to get their guy. Like, I don't like this whole mix. Even when you fire a GM, but you keep the coach, like, I don't like that.
It's their guy. Brock is their guy.
Start over.
Yeah. Well, that's what, like, you could bring in a coach and be like, look, we have this quarterback. What do you think? Do you want him? Do you not? Do you want to have a trial year with him? Like, sometimes teams do that.
But sometimes guys lie. They'll say, yeah, I'm okay with that because they want the job. You know, and they think if I trash the quarterback, I may not get the job. And then once they get the job, they're like, well, he wasn't really my guy. So
Mike McDaniel probably did that with Tua, right? I love him. He's incredible. He's the best.
I mean, that whole Tua, the fact that he's coming back is scary enough, but whatever, it's his life. It's his choice ultimately. But the fact that he won't wear the Guardian cap boggles my mind. That's like, hey, I've been in 6 car accidents, and I know there's a thing like an airbag that can really save my life, or a seatbelt, but I'm just going to choose not to wear it. But I'm still going to drive all the time and really fast. Like, I'm stunned by that. Again, it's his life. It's his brain. It's totally up to him, but I'm just surprised by it. Official B&A Music says Shador Sanders and Benny J. Who's Benny J? I don't follow college football. I know Shador, but I don't know who Benny J is. But I don't really want to go back into the wilderness of trying to find a quarterback through the draft. They're not going to finish with a high enough draft pick, I hope, for that to be the case.
Right now they're at 14.
Mid, yeah, that's not ideal.
No.
All day, every day, Kim says there's growing pains now with Brock, big time. I think that's fair. I mean, and he's still 24 years old, so that's something that you got to keep in mind also, but it's got to get better this week against the Cowboys, man. It absolutely, whether you think it's Kyle's fault, whether you think it's Brock's fault, whether you think it's both like me, both have to be better. They cannot lose this week. They cannot lose.
I mean, all I'm saying is that it's just been too hard throwing the ball this year. It's like the numbers are there. The separation isn't there like it was in the past. There's a lot of contested catches. There's a lot of Brock running around, making things happen. Like, that's not the Niners offense. Like, I know he has to evolve and defenses are going to play him differently, but they have to find a solution. And the solution isn't throw deep or run around. There's got to be something easier than that. Got to be something easier than that when your coach is this good.
Well, those are the two refrains we hear, right? One, they got to get back to doing the things the 49ers did all the time. But then it's also, Kyle has to evolve the scheme. Both of those things can't be true at the same time. He's either got to evolve it or he's got to get back to playing 49ers football.
He's got to find a solution to this man coverage problem. And right now, it seems like the solution you're saying is, well, you don't really offer a solution. No offense. You're saying it's mostly Brock's fault. And that's damning, because the solution to that is have him get a stronger arm or get a new quarterback. So if that's not the case, if there's something Kyle could do to make Brock's life easier against man, if there's a solution he could bring to the table, that would fix everything. But I mean, it seems like you're saying he's doing all that he can. Quarterback isn't executing. They got to look into getting a new quarterback, maybe at the deadline, maybe Sam Darnold, or maybe trade for. I think that's what you said. I think you said trade a first-round pick for Sam Darnold. That's paraphrase. Yeah,
I have a whole video on that on my channel. You see the rumor that the Rams or the Vikings are going to trade for Stafford? That's
interesting to me. I kind of like it. Let's humor it for a second. The Vikings are really good. Darnold's having a good season. He just lost to the Lions. No one really thinks the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. I don't even know if they do. I don't even know if he does. But with Stafford, that's a different story. The Rams are selling off their parts. They're trading Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford, does he want to stick around without Cooper Kupp? I could see him wanting to leave. I could see the Rams wanting to get something for him and then being interested in Darnold, who's like 10 years younger than maybe not 10, but significantly younger than Stafford. That's the only. It was intriguing when I heard it. I was like, oh, that's what I said. That was the noise I made. Oh,
I don't know if I believe that one. I mean, first of all, you've lost one game with Sam Darnold. Now, again, I don't think Sam Darnold is good, but he has lost one game for the Vikings this year. Now you want to trade him for Matt Stafford, and you've already invested a first-round pick in J.J. McCarthy. That's why that one made me shake my head.
That makes it even more sense. Like that, you don't need Stafford long term. 1 year, 2 years, win the Super Bowl. J.J. McCarthy comes in. Because I mean, honestly, do you think Sam Darnold is going to win the Super Bowl this year?
No.
And that's a fair thing. Neither do I. He might. I don't think the Vikings do either, even though they're 5-1. I think they're kind of surprised that they're punching above their weight. They know they're punching above their weight. Darnold really was a big reason that they lost this game to the Lions. He had an interception late. I don't know. If they were to get Stafford, wouldn't you think they'd have a more realistic chance of winning?
Yes. Well, now Stafford's already done it. So, yeah, you have to think that.
So I could see it. Now, is it going to happen? Probably not. But I wish dramatic midseason quarterback trades would happen more in the NFL. Like this would be great.
What a journey that would be for Sam Darnold. It would be first round pick of the Jets, future of the franchise, disaster. Go to Carolina to try and build you back up, disaster. Go to San Francisco. Some people think you were built back up for some reason. Leave after a year, go to Minnesota, play well, then all of a sudden get traded to where you're now going to be the Rams' future at quarterback. That is
He's from LA. He gets to go home. He gets to be the golden boy in Southern California. He gets to throw to Puka Nacua. Not maybe Cooper Kupp. I mean, he'd probably rather stay with the Vikings, I'm guessing.
I would think. Yeah. I mean, seems to be working out for him. I mean, he's putting himself, does he have a 1 year deal or I don't know what it is, but he's putting himself in line to get paid if he keeps playing like that.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, the Sam Darnold story is great, and I do feel bad for ridiculing him so much. I still don't think he's great, but clearly you can win with him if you have a good team. So I'm sincerely sorry, Sam Darnold. And I said a lot of rude things, snarky things. He would always be in the locker room and see me, and he'd open the door for you. He's like the nicest guy. So I feel I regret that, and I actually am pulling for him. I think he's one of the better stories in the league, and it'd be nice if the Niners still had him in retrospect.
I have always heard he's nothing but a nice human being.
He's super nice. Yeah,
I have criticized him more than anybody I didn't even think he was capable of what he's doing now, even though I think it's mostly scheme. I didn't even think he was capable of that. So I was wrong on that.
He's still kind of playing the same though. He holds the ball a long time. He turns the ball over when you least need it, and he's a really good athlete with a really good arm. Like I don't think he's changed that much. I just think he's gotten older, and teams are asking less of him, which is great.
I would agree. Generic name says, I've said it before, Kyle's system elevates lower tier quarterbacks, but places a hard ceiling on them as well. Why though? Why would the scheme place a ceiling on him? If the guy's mid and he has physical limitations, that could be a ceiling. But why would the scheme place hand on him? That's what I would ask.
I think that's a good question. I think with Kyle, his scheme is great for a quarterback that you don't trust. A guy that you want to dude, we want to run the ball today. And when we do throw, we want to throw on passing downs against base defenses who are worried about the running back who's better than you. And we're going to do play action. Everything's going to look the same, but we're going to limit how many actual drop back situations you're in where you're losing or you're coming from behind or it's a 2 minute. It's like, we don't want to do that. But like when you have a quarterback like Brock or someone that you think is elite, then you should be able to win if you're down 10 or 8 in the fourth quarter or you got to throw. It's like, no problem. We'll just put the game in the hands of the best player on our team. So I think that's where Kyle, where we're looking, where's your scheme drop back? Where's your scheme against man coverage? Is it great? Or is it just that Brock is a complete, is he a system quarterback? Is he? Maybe he was like Jimmy was.
This is another thing that we haven't talked about, but it's a huge reason for their issues, particularly in the red zone. Jordan Mason inside the 5-yard line this year. This is unreal. 7 carries inside the 5, -1 yard, and a touchdown. He's the only running back to fail to score at least 3 touchdowns on 7+ goal line carries. 7 carries inside the 5 for -1 yard. The 49ers offensive line, Chris Forrester. What are you doing, man? Coach your guys up. Can you gain a yard? We're almost.
To me, again, this points to a larger problem. Maybe you disagree, but I don't think this is a Jordan Mason issue. Maybe it's an offensive line issue, but it wasn't an offensive line issue when Christian McCaffrey was the guy. I feel like this must be a play calling thing. There must be a tendency when they're in these formations. Do they run the ball 80% of the time? There could be things they could do. How about a play action bootleg dump off to Jordan Mason in the flat? I feel like defenses are guessing what they're doing. That's my best guess, is that it seems like people know what they're doing in these short yardage situations.
Yeah, most of the time short yardage or runs, but I feel like, dude, you got to block.
When they handed it off to Juszczyk in Seattle, that was something that was broke tendency. It's not something they do a lot. Touchdown.
Yeah, I also think that Seattle was letting them score, but whatever. I'll say this.
See, to me, we can't talk football on that level, being you. You like to talk about what's in front of you. I like to talk about what could be, what they didn't do. Choices that coaches made and things that they could have done and didn't do. And you don't like to go there.
Look, they could have.
If a coach called it, the players should have executed it.
Well, they could have called different plays too. Both of those things are true. But also, when you're talking short yardage runs, it's not scheme. It's about you blocking the dude in front of you. And the Niners offensive line is getting punked in those. It's not just runs though. I mean, they have a problem inside the 5, no matter what it is, run or pass. Yes.
So it seems like there are things you could do to be less predictable. Because I don't think that Jordan Mason is a bad goal line running back. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think it's on him. I think it
can't be him. Maybe it's on Brendel. But again, this offensive line didn't have this issue last year. I feel like they lost Christian McCaffrey and they've sort of struggled to figure out what they want to do and what their identity is down there, what plays work and what can keep defenses on their heels. I think they're having a tough time with that.
I think the offensive line has gotten worse in this area since last year. Trent's gotten worse. He's been getting punked on a couple of plays, man. It has not been the same Trent that we have come to know and love. A generic name says Kyle's scheme prevents creativity and will not allow a quarterback to make decisions. Most importantly, it actively prevents a 2-minute drill. I don't.
Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face. You did it. Now he's a 9. That's a 9. That's a 9. Look at his face.
How does it?
Yo, that's a 10. That's a 10. Yes.
How does a scheme prevent a 2-minute drill? We've seen the 49ers run 2-minute drills. What are we watching here, people? All right, deep breaths. I got to wrap up the show. That's it. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. I might not physically survive.
Man, I want to give it up. I want to give it up to the people in the chat. You're the real MVP today. I didn't know if it could be done, but it happened. Way to go.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate that. Thanks to you, Grant. Thanks to BetUS. We appreciate it. If you want to check out BetUS, please do it. You sign up. You get promo code YouTube150 for a deposit bonus. I highly recommend you go and do that. Thanks for bringing your XLR.
Hold on. We got a couple at the buzzer. Real quick.
Really quick.
I'm sorry. They couldn't get enough.
Matthew says it would be nice to see a short yardage play action pass to a back like every other team runs and works 80% of the time. Trent is one. Yeah, 100% agree. Ray could mix that in. And Gen3 Cali says, Grant, is Kyle setting up Niners quarterback for failure like Mike set up RG3 for failure in DC by going away from plays that work to insane play calling? That's not what happened. RG3 refused to run some plays. RG3 gave a presentation to Kyle and Mike and said, I'm not running X, Y, and Z plays anymore. Which is crazy.
That is true. That is true.
That happened.
Hey, yo, you know all those plays that worked my rookie year? They're out. I am now Peyton Manning. So we're gonna do that offense.
They wanted to trade RG3 and get a bunch of picks and go with
generic names. Says Mr. Stats says just untrue. They have no 2-minute drill. They are a pretty slow offense. They like to go slow between plays.
We've seen them run it. What do we? The games are on TV, right? It's not just like a private feed that I get. Just check it.
Do they do no huddle? They don't do no huddle very often.
They have no. They don't do it that often, but they have it.
No. Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. I'm going to go take some deep breaths, maybe meditate. Grant, work on your cooking show. We'll see you.
Thank you very much. We got to both decompress.